Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's session. I think just one quick question, before we start. How many of you actually attended a session on DPDP rules? I think we did it day before yesterday because we are going to talk a lot about, in today's session, we are going to give that as a context. So, in the chat, quickly, maybe or any session around DPDP, the new rules that are out, that is going to be our context for today's discussion as well. So good to see a few people in the chat confirming. Thank you so much. I hope you have that context and of course your background as well. But yes, I think let's start now with the discussion. A quick introduction. I am Sejal Shivya. I'm the AVP at Cyberfrat, and I look after the Gold Cyberfrat Gold community as well, along with all the trainings, all the education initiatives that Cyberfrat does. So happy to see a lot of good people in the session currently. So today we are going to talk about, of course, privacy. It's a very hot topic considering the DPDP rules are finally out. And with that in mind, a lot of professionals, leaders in the industry now, will look forward to know as much as they can before, they start implementing. I think we have a year and a half to actually set everything, comply with all the rules that are out. And that is why this topic in this session today, we are going to talk about data privacy, but how that actually starts with understanding privacy. And we have a lovely guest, with us. She brings a lot of experience with her, especially in this privacy third party risk management domain. Dr. Shweta Tripathi, she's the deputy general manager at Grant Medical Foundation Ruby Hall Clinic, which is based out in Pune. I'm glad to have you. So in the chat, a little excitement. What are you looking forward? Anything, just put it in the chat so that we can have that excitement before we start. And of course, we expect a lot of Q&A, a lot of interactiveness, because that is very much needed at this point from the community. All views, all inputs will be appreciated. So let's just, before we start with the questions and with the actual discussion, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit more with your background, with what you're currently doing in, I think, this new role that you have started. So yeah.
Thank you, Sejal. Thank you for that brief introduction. About myself, I have got total 25 years of experience, but my journey had been very variant from in different fields. Few years, like I have spent major of my time with academics, where I have my focus was completely on cyber security. And from there, I moved to consulting with EY, then to the insurance industry, and now I have moved to the hospital here in Pune. So, but the focus is always same, cybersecurity, and definitely these questions we would take up after the session. Maybe Sejal, what is the plan?
Right. So, of course, people can put in their questions in between whenever they want to, but we will take those up at the end so that we don't disrupt the discussion.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So, cybersecurity and in data privacy had been my focus always. So, when we talk about cybersecurity, definitely we are talking about the data. And in 2023, the law came in, and recently, I think 13 November, Sejal, if I'm right, 14th
Yes.
November,
13, 14, 14.
Children's Day.
Children's Day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
the
Correct.
rules were released, which we were waiting for a long time. The rules were released on 14th of November 2025. So, Sejal asked me, ma'am, would you like to speak something on data privacy? See, at that time, even the rules had not released. Okay, though we discussed on this topic, because what I understand is everyone is waiting for DPDP. Everyone is talking about the privacy, the law, and everything. But to a normal man, see, when I came to the hospital, I understood that in a hospital, definitely it's not information security, it's not IT or anything, it's the patient's life which has got more importance, right? So in this case, if I go and talk about data privacy, nobody would bother. Okay, but somewhere privacy is important, right? So that is why I thought, let's bring up this topic on table and let's discuss that. What do you mean by privacy in India? Are we ready? Are we worried about what is the privacy? So this we spoke, me and Sejal, and we thought, let's have a chat on this and let the community also come together and put their views on this thing. Today's discussion would not be much on the rules, but the focus would be our readiness on privacy.
Correct, correct. Thank you for setting that context and a very powerful, I think, message or a context you've set, with respect to your current organization, the hospital, the patient's life. I think it's a very different, thing because for us, since we are from the industry, of course, this is all that matters to us. But for them, of course, it's a different priority, different set of things that they will consider. But, when we talk about understanding privacy before even policies, tools, audits, all of this, we need the clarity. So in practice, let's explore what that actually looks like. So when we talk about, of course, privacy in an organization, what does that actually mean? What all is considered? What is privacy in terms of organization from that perspective?
Yeah. So Sejal, before we move to the organization, as I said, I would definitely mention that what the privacy means to an individual.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Let's start with
Yeah.
this.
So to see, being in India, when anybody says that you go to a mall and people say that, yeah, fill this form, give your mobile number, give your email address, and we give it easily. For what? For some purpose. What they will do with my mobile number or email address? This is everybody's personal experience, right? Even on social media, we are so casual. We post we post everything what happens in our day-to-day life, what we have eaten, where we are going. Every day, the lunch photo, the breakfast photo, the dinner photo would be there, at which location, what place. The location is also tagged in on the social media. Now, individually, this is what I have observed, that here we don't worry. It's okay what people will do. Why my data? Why my mobile? Why my location is important? So, very first thing, as an individual, see, when we are from the industry, first of all, we have to understand the importance of the data. Then we understand that from the organization perspective, what we would be saving and why we would be saving. If
Correct.
I myself have a habit of sharing all my information everywhere in the social media, and then if I come to an organization and my company says that, Shweta, you have to see that you are not taking over data, you are taking the data only what is required, do the data minimization, do the data. Why should I do it? Even I would worry and I would not justify the job, right? So,
Hmm.
first of all, let me understand, let every individual understand that what is privacy data? What is privacy, first of all? So,
Correct.
right, privacy is the PII. I would always relate privacy with PII, personally identifiable information, right? The data. Now there are two things: data and information. Okay, with the data, the information comes in. With the information, the identification comes in. Okay, so please understand these three terms. Please understand what is that. Now, which kind of data you are is going to give what kind of information, and are you going to get identified using this information, right? Biju, no, we don't have PPT. This is just a chat. Okay. So please, maybe you can note down. See, now I will talk about different types of data. If I say my name, okay, somewhere I have given my name. Now, relate it with the other terms, information and identifiable. With the name, are you getting any information? If I say Dr. Shweta Tripathi, so the information what you're getting, she's a doctor. The doctor might be of medical field or of the PhD. The information is not clear, but she's a doctor. She's a lady. Because we are in India, we are able to get the information that she's a lady. Tripathi is from somewhere from North India. That also people guess. So with my name, I'm giving this information, right? Now, am I getting identified with this information? Am I getting identified? No, not right now. Okay, if because in North India there might be many hundreds and thousands of Dr. Shweta, but if I say Dr. Shweta from Ruby Hall Clinic, Pune, yes, I am
Mm.
getting identified,
Correct.
right? So the data with which you are giving an information and the information is becoming identifiable, that is personally identifiable. Now, if I say that now it is giving now patient of Ruby Hall Clinic, okay? So
Mm.
20 patients of Ruby Hall Clinic, okay? So what is the info? The data is number of patients and of which name of the hospital. Name has come in. We say name is always PI. Now you just relate. Name has come in, number has come in. We say
Mm.
it is PI. But now you relate again. Data, what information this data is giving? Number of patients 20. Name is Ruby Hall Clinic. Okay, it is giving an information that in Ruby Hall Clinic 20 patients. But
Correct.
is anything, anybody, any personally identifiable things are happening? No, right? So that is what is PII. Always understand what data I am revealing. Okay, with that data, what information can be generated and whether I am getting identifiable. This is this is what I would term as understanding the privacy, which many people think that with my mobile number, with email address, it can't be a PII. Now, what is happening with the email address? Your personal email address, right? So,
Mm.
suppose it is at the rate gmail.com, Shweta Tripathi at the rate gmail.com. But now you see, this Gmail will not get generated for the same 1,000 names. Shweta Tripathi at the rate gmail.com. I never got that username. There
Mm.
might be so many people who must have created,
Correct. Correct.
right? It
Mm.
means what? With my name and with my email address. These are the two data points. I am getting an information that Shweta Tripathi is having a Gmail address and this is our Gmail address. And there is a personally identifiable information because it's unique to Shweta Tripathi. My email address is unique to my name. Okay, that is about personal email ID. Now, if it is official email ID, if it is shweta.tripathi at the rate rubyhall.com, it is giving information about my organization. So definitely name and email address is the PII data, right? So
Correct.
that is what this is what is privacy. What data we are revealing, what information it is giving, and whether it is giving identifiable information about the person. Okay, so this is what I wanted to convey, that first of all I know that what data I'm sharing, how it is getting what information and identifiable. Okay, now coming back to your question, right? What the organization should do, right?
Mm.
Now, what the organization should do, now I know what is PII data, right? Now I need to protect it. The first thing, I
Right.
need to protect it because, like, name or must be too. See, I am getting disturbed, but then, yeah.
It's fine.
But, sir, Mr. Dheeraj, I would say please relate these three things: data, information, and identification. Okay? Please relate these terminologies, it will help. See, my way is anything, whichever I work, I try to convert the qualitative points into quantitative points. That's why I have given you three parameters. Now, whatever data you get, you rate it with these parameters and you will know that whether this is PI data or not. You can give the rating, you can give the scale, and then from the mathematical way, you will be able to calculate whether this is PI data or not. Okay, so that will be very interesting if you try this. This came just now in my mind, and you all can try. It's going to be very interesting. Convert the qualitative into quantitative. Use these three parameters. Okay, so now coming back to the organization. Now, what organization knows? Organization knows that we have to protect the data. Now, one is protect the data means the customer who has come in to our organization, they believe that we have come to a secured place. Okay. Now, first of all, I have understood that I should not be giving my name and mobile number, name or email address, because I may get identified, right? And this is my privacy hygiene. Now, we would not say data hygiene, we would say my privacy hygiene, that I don't give it. Okay. So now this protecting this privacy hygiene is the responsibility of the organization to whom the customer has come. Now, customer has understood that this is my privacy hygiene, and it is our duty to protect that hygiene. Now, how do we protect? By having different security controls, by data minimization, and all the different terminologies. I would not go into the depth, but this is what I wanted to answer for your question.
Correct. No, we'll deep dive or
Yeah.
into it in the later discussion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you for breaking it down. First of all, to everybody here, of course, even though everybody come with a different experience, currently in the session, it's important to go down to the basics, understand, brush it up, and then think from that perspective. Now that we have to implement a lot of things, in our own roles. And you also mentioned that the malls, the way they collect the data, even when we are entering into a company at the gate, the security collects a lot of data in those registers. I am still not sure how that is being used later on, what happens to that data, how it is managed, because of course if it's a system that is collecting the data, it's a different thing. There must be some or the other process to actually store and then later delete or erase the data, or however the rules are. But especially the data that is, of course, collected in malls, in those registers and the security gates, these organizations, of course, collect personal data without mapping the whole requirement, or without that mapping, wherein fields, where they are stored, how does it actually flow to third parties, what are the retention periods, what is the purpose. For example, some companies think that, okay, I have to collect X field or X data because I have to, not because I need to.
Sejal, 1 second. I will. Okay, okay. Sorry, somebody had come in. Yeah,
No
yeah,
problem.
yeah. Sorry, I got your question. Yeah,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
just want to understand, when these organizations collect personal data without fully mapping it, how important is it to actually know what data you have and why do you have it? Do you even need the data that you're collecting? So how do you propose organizations should actually take this?
Yeah. So, Sejal, good question. Everyone is asking questions related to what you have asked also. So let me break it down. First of all, break into three pieces. Okay. Very first thing, the data on the hard copy is not covered under DPDP.
DP, correct.
It's very clearly written that DPDP implies only to the digital data, not to the hard copy. Okay, this is the first thing. And I think there were few queries also related to it. Yes, in the law, initially, if you see the first few lines only, those 21 pages which had come out as the copy of the law, you can read it out. It's very clearly mentioned. It's only for the digital data. Okay. Now coming to the second question, that when they are taking this data, now if they are taking photograph of the data of those registers, or they are copying it any Excel, okay, whatever data they are filling it up, either they are putting on any software or they are putting on any Excel, it means what? The data, the physical data gets converted into digital data, right? So then on the digital data, the law implies. Okay, these are the two things. Now the third point, what I want, the concern what you have raised is, what are they going to do the data? Now this is what I have told you about privacy hygiene. Now it's our own privacy hygiene. We can ask them, you are taking our information, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to put it on any software? Are you going to discard? What is the, if it is your right to ask them, and if you are comfortable, you write the data there. If you are not comfortable, you have all the right to say that I will not give my data. This is a clear privacy hygiene. This is what I had mentioned initially, that we as individual, we need to start practicing. We need to ask, where is my data? So some few years back, I had gone to purchase a car. Okay, they said that there will be a device, and now in many automatic cars it happens that using your mobile phone you can track your vehicle, you can track what distance it had traveled. So I asked the very, so when we had gone, I think 5 to 6 years back, that time it was optional. They were telling we will put the device and then you will be able to map. Now it's coming ready made. But that time he said, I will put the device. Then I asked him the question that if the data which is getting generated, because it will get generated under my name, Shweta Tripathi, she had been moving from this place to that place, right? So, and she had been traveling. So I asked him, this is with this, my personal identification is getting revealed. I want to know where is the data. Is the data being managed on your cloud or it is outsourced? How are you managing our security controls there? He could not answer anything. So it was my privacy hygiene. I said I will not take the device about using which my data, personal data is getting generated and I don't know where, right? So I had the right to ask him. And when I did not get the satisfied answer, I did not take the device. See, it's my hygiene, it's my choice whether I want to do it or I don't want to do it. So sometimes people tell me, Shweta, you have that auditor's background and you start your questions everywhere. But it's not that. It's not that. It's like you have to protect, you have to know about your own thing, because I am going to reveal in my information is going to get revealed in front of everyone. I don't want to reveal it. So it's my choice. It's your choice. You write it on the register. You ask them how they are going to use it. You are not comfortable. Don't write. You say that I'm not comfortable. I'll not write. And nobody can force you on. Nobody can force you. Yeah.
A lot of, I think, the security gate, the people at the gate, security gate, also collect Aadhaar numbers, car numbers,
Tell them I
our
will not give.
laptop device, model numbers, a lot of data, they collect. Not sure again what is the purpose.
Check. Ask question. Ask question.
Hmm.
It is your right to ask question. So then what is happening? You are becoming concerned about the privacy. When, after this session, at least 10 people would go and start asking question, I would say that the session was successful.
Very
Yeah,
true.
we would start practicing the privacy hygiene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think again, a collection of such data also creates some blind spots, because at the time of a breach, then the organization is accountable or responsible to answer why was the data collected. And I think such blind spots can be risky for a company in in a situation of a data breach, because they don't even know that all of this data has also gone, which I think they did not even need in the first place.
So
So.
again, this is a completely different point, I would say, Sejal. When you talk about data breach, okay?
Mm.
Now, again, two things. If see, people would claim, I have seen that people claim that, very senior people claiming, people, why should I worry about their data? They are already giving their data on Uber and Ola and everywhere data is there. And if their data is getting lost, why should I worry? If data it got revealed in black market and all, people are already giving the data. Why should I bother? That is one point. Okay. There is a data breach. And sometimes even here we people would think, how does it matter if my data has gone on dark web? Data breach. We say, like for security professionals, it's a big thing. We know the consequences, we know the impact, we know what all things have failed. But as a person, when I'm not practicing privacy hygiene, okay, I would say, what? So what if my data has gone on dark web or the data was breached? What will happen? Right? So what will happen now? The consequences they would face later, and they would not be able to relate it with what had happened. Consequences would be, personally, when I give session on hacking or anything, I would say that the hacking happens either to an individual or to an organization, right? How do they plan their hack? By getting either data from the dark web or getting data from your mall or from the security gate. Somewhere data is getting breached. That is why individually either the people are getting hacked or the organizations are getting hacked, right? So the hacker never hacks a person or an organization in a day. Hacking never happens in a day. Hacking is planned because they have to do proper reconnaissance, right? they have to get the information and plan that why to hack. What would I get if I hack Dr. Shweta? What would I get if I hack Sejal? What would I get if I hack Ruby Hall? Right? Because there they also plan, they also invest, okay, they also have return on investment. All these things are planned, right? So definitely hacking, if you say data was breached as a person, that is why we are having a session. As a person, I would say, how does it matter?
Correct.
Later the things would come up.
Correct. We are going to talk about that culture, in a bit, I guess, which is of course again important when we step into such, responsibilities and roles. But I think when we talk about, I think we've talked about individuals, we've talked about the organizations collecting data, and as you mentioned that for privacy of a security cyber professionals, it's a priority or it's their day in day out. But when we talk about the marketing operations, all these non-tech roles or departments, how do we make sure that they all are also sharing this accountability or sharing this responsibility? Because for example, marketing departments are known to gather a lot of data for lead generation. They run a lot of campaigns for their own product, services, pitching, all of that. So how do we make sure that we are including them in this, and this is not just a legal or a compliance department issue?
Definitely the other departments, the operations who needs the data to perform different, to process different things and then come out with the solution and then work on enhancing the output of the organization. So now these teams have to handle it responsibly without reaching the privacy hygiene of the person. Now, if I understand, I suppose I am in marketing team and I have to do analysis that, and my business is B2C. It's not B2B. Okay. I'm talking about B2C. Okay. So I would have definitely a huge list of customers and I would have to pitch in the products to them. I'll have to plan, create different plans. How do I pitch it? Now, when I am pitching it, when I'm using it, okay, I should know, first of all, even I should be aware about what is there in the law. It is not that I'm a marketing person and I should not know, because that is the responsibility of security team and DPDP team and it is the responsibility of the legal team. No, it is every individual who's handling the data, it is their responsibility, because there is a word called as significant fiduciary in the law, right? Okay, so the SDF, if the customer has, you have got the customer's data, it means customer had faith on you that they will protect the data and not misuse the data on the organization, and you are part of the organization. And because of you, if there is a mishandling of data, I would not say data breach, I would say mishandling of data, because the law does not talk only about the breach, it also talks about mishandling of the data, right? If because of me as the marketing person there is mishandling of data, there would be definitely different fines by the law. The law has mentioned a fine of 250 crores, right? That's the maximum fine which has been defined in the law, right? So as a marketing person, as an operational person, I should know, first of all, what are the consequences if I don't handle the data with a great hygiene. Okay, now that is one thing, that if I'm not handling. Now the second thing is what data I need and why I need, the justification, and which kind of customer I'm reaching out. Okay, suppose as a marketing person I have run an algorithm, okay, and I came to know that I have got maybe FMCG company where there are food products, okay. So I have come to know that there are 100 customers every day morning, they are ordering for a an e-commerce company, ordering for bread, milk, butter every day morning they are doing this. So I need to propose further to them that they can have egg, they can have this. So I need to plan it. Now, which kind of customer, why? So if the customer is buying this kind of product and you are proposing something related to that, even the customer would be happy that yes, the company has taken care of me. But if you have done an analysis and you have understood that the person is vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and you are proposing non-vegetarian, the person would get annoyed and would say that what are you doing, why are you sending this kind of information to me? This is just an example I'm giving. If your analysis goes well and to the relevant customer, right, you would get the appreciation. If your analysis goes wrong and it goes to the wrong customer, you would be definitely fired and people would start coming and saying that they are using our data. All those stories would start. So definitely you need to be very mindful being in marketing or operations, so or any other non IT or non legal or non BPDP team. You need to be very mindful while handling the data and what kind of information you require. So, are you sending it through WhatsApp? Are you sending the information through the app only, through your app only? Are you sending it through the email? Are you calling them and you're telling you can do it? All these things you have to do very mindfully and also need to check whether you have the consent. I didn't want it to come to that topic, but it is very much required that be- everyone should know about what is the consent, what consent we have got for, and we have to use that consent only. If there is no consent, don't use the data. Very simple.
Actually, that brings to this to my next for a follow up question, that how I think the organizations or the companies makes these rights easy to understand and use. For example, if we see a form which is to be filled, we see a small checkbox which gives that one or two liner by saying that you are giving your consent to for this data to be used. But again, how do companies make sure that for their customers, users, they are making it a little easy to understand?
So a lot of work is going on. Even government is working on it. But from company perspective, what I would say is there are two things. One is implicit consent, one is explicit consent. Okay. You
Mhm.
can just say that I'm giving consent and put a tick box on a paper. Okay. Or you can develop a solution, develop an application. Okay. Because very important is, though it is on a paper, the law says that you need to manage the consent. You need to see that who has given consent and for what, right? That is explicitly you need to take down the consent. First of all, for WhatsApp you need to have the consent, for email you need to have the consent, for phone call you need to have the consent, and then for what all things the data can be used, that has to be mentioned explicitly, right? And it has to be managed. Now even managed well, okay, it has to be managed well, the consent. That who, so when I said that marketing person, I should know what consent was given. So if it is on a paper, as a marketing person, I would have to go and check everybody's consent. But if it is digitized, it would be easy for me to get a dashboard that how many people have given me consent to send messages on a WhatsApp and send marketing messages. Or if it is operational, send operation the related to the product only. If there is any upgrades in the feature, we can send information for that. Okay. So we need to manage the consent. We need to know. So if you have 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 10 lakhs customer, 20 lakhs customer, now imagine for each customer, you should be able to manage these implicit or explicit. Now the implicit and explicit consent has not been defined. It is still in the discussion. So according to my last conversation, I got an understanding that consent should be explicit. Okay. Now imagine for 10 lakhs customer, each customer giving consent for 10 different activities for which you are going to use. So you need to have a proper consent management. And then the next step is you should also give right to the customer to withdraw the consent. I
Hmm.
may give consent to use it to send information about upgradation in the product, but I would not give my consent to send marketing mailers. Okay, I have purchased a mobile. Okay, so if any new feature has come in the same phone, okay, but if S25 has come in, I don't want those marketing emails, right? If there is any software update or if there is any new feature which has come in for same product, okay, I have given consent for that. So initially I must have given for everything, explicit tick, 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 tick on everything. But later I may feel that no, I want to go and change the consent.
Mhm.
So for your organization, now I think as per my understanding, even government is working on coming up with a common platform. I don't know about it, but this is how the consent should be managed.
Okay, amazing. I think that made me understood a little better. And I think we were talking about the mindset that you mentioned, that why should I worry if somebody's data is being leaked. I think that boils down to the culture that is being set. Of course, in our personal lives that is a different thing, but when it comes to organizations, I think a lot of initiatives, awareness, this that is going on. But according to you, how do you get employees to think twice before collecting or sharing someone's data? Can we add some penalties, not exactly penalties, but any consequences inside the organization to build that culture, or it can be built without that as well?
You mean to say the culture that organization to should maintain the privacy?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess the leaders need to propagate that to their employees, and then that is how the culture will be built, and then it will be reflected throughout the organization, I believe.
First of all, in that case, first of all, so when you say culture, okay, I would consider again the organization and the individual. Okay, so
Mhm.
I will now this time I will start with the organization and then I will go to the individual. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
now culture in the organization, definitely a policy should be made, data
Hmm.
privacy policy. Now, what happens with the policy? Every organization, they make the policy and they upload it at a common place and they take the acknowledgement from everyone.
Correct.
Right. Now, so if there are 10,000 employees, you go and ask them how many of you have read the policy. It would
Hmm.
be one or two, or if you are lucky, 50 people must have read. Nobody reads it. So, to bring the culture, what you have to do is, I have started practicing this. So, bring the cyber security culture in the hospital. So, what I have done is, I have created the policy. Policy is uploaded at the common place. I've got the acknowledgement when the committee came in for the NABH audit. We showed, yeah, we have taken the acknowledgement and everything. But I personally know that there is no culture. Now, how to bring the culture? What I have done is I have started again the sessions. But the sessions, I'm giving half an hour session. Session is not about the hack happened here, this hospital was nothing like that. What is written in the policy and why we need to follow? That is my theme of giving the session. Why we should comply to this policy. And the highlights of the policies I have put on the slide. Okay, and I'm talking to everyone in a very layman language that this is the policy and why we should follow policy, how will it help, and how can I do it. I'm not telling them that the policy says that your password should be 12 to 14 characters long and you need to change your password within 45 days. These things are very common things which we write in the policy, right? But what I am telling them is if you don't change your password, what will happen? The attacker has an algorithm through which he can get your password within 45 days. So what you do? You change your password, right? So, and I am talking to them in a very, very layman language, not talking any technical. So what is happening? Slowly people have started thinking about it. It is required. People don't have habit of, normally I have seen Windows L. Okay. That's a, nobody does. Not only here, nobody does. It's a very common thing. So what people are doing, so what I've told them, if your colleague is not doing, write a party mail, invite me also. See, I'm not telling them to lock, I'm
We
telling mail invite. So with this, people are able to relate,
right, right.
right? So if I say if I say my policy says go and lock the computer, Windows L is mandatory. If you don't do it, you'll be fired. Nobody will do it, right? Talk to, don't just upload the policy and forget it and say it is there. Start creating the culture. And after the session, what I have done is I have created a summary of one pager, okay, on a glossy page. behind the summary is a calendar.
Okay.
So what will happen? Everyone will have it on their table, okay? And if I wouldn't have got the calendar, they would have just read it and thrown it in the dustbin. But because there's a calendar, that paper will lie on their table for 1 year. And by that time, my policy will get revised, and I will go back and talk to them and come up with the new additional points.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
create a culture in the making a policy and just putting it somewhere is not going to help. You need to, and this is not, I'm not talking something very new to be done outside India, coming to the customer. Okay. The customer should know, see what we do, we upload it on our website. We put it somewhere on the form that this is our data privacy, this is the consent. But what they do, they read out. They read out that this is and every time they would read out, the customer would say, no, no, I don't need, but sir, this is my duty to read out. I will read it out for you. What is written there? This is the practice there. Okay. So for the customer, we need to vocalize what we want to practice. If we don't vocalize, we just put it in the form of some training and some policy and sit with a stick that if you don't follow, like our olden school days, if you're not studying, you will get beaten up with a stick. No, that is not going to help. You need to vocalize what you want to create the culture with. Yeah. That is what I would mention about the culture.
Great point. I think orthodox traditional methods just creating the policy will not work. We need to make sure that the employees know it by heart and then they are implementing them, that in their daily life. So I think that was great discussion, Shweta ma'am. We covered a lot of points from a individual, company, non-tech, tech employees, leaders. I think great content, great inputs. Thank you so much for that. And I think I see a couple questions in the chat box already. We open the forum now for the participants to put in their questions. I think we have covered outline of the topics that we had in mind. Now over to all the participants here. So until all of you are putting, others are putting in the chat, let's take this first question by Mr. Dheeraj Jain. Sales employee left the organization and joined a new one. A situation based question using data to connect customer of previous organization. What liability the previous organization have in that case? And can the CRM be used as a consent management tool?
First of all, if the sales employee is taking it, there was no DLP. Please implement DLP, monitor who is taking what kind of data, and be very strict on the rules that no data should be going to the personal email ID, phones, have MDM on the phones. Okay. The salesperson or whomever should not be allowed to carry data from one organization to other organization. It's your quality, it's your knowledge, it's your contribution towards the topic or your job which you should be taking there to the other organization, but not the data. It is wrong. If the salesperson has taken it, it means your security controls have failed, right? And the second question you said was related to,
can the CRM be used as consent management tool?
You will have to modify it as per the requirement. Till now, I don't think, because it is similar, but you will have to make a lot of changes. Yeah, that's what I said, Mr. Dheeraj. Have MDM on their phones.
DLP, MDMs, I think will
DLP, MDMs, yeah.
Such
DLP, MDM, right.
I think Biju sir had asked when we were discussing the entry gate, situations of data collection. So at the entry gate, we need to give our name and mobile number primarily. How will DPDP address it? I think Shweta ma'am has already defined that, the physical data doesn't really come under DPDP, but I think anything, additionally want to add, Shweta ma'am, towards this?
No, it's the same thing. First of all, hard copy doesn't come, but second thing is we don't know whether hard copy is going to get converted into digital and it will fall into DPDP. So it's our duty to ask them how are they going to use the data,
Right. Okay. Any more questions? Because I think we have some time before we wrap up. Ask away your questions so that you can understand such day-to-day situations that happen with us better. I think we talk about the location tracking features that a lot of apps are now, putting out. And for example, Instagram is a commonly used application, these days. And I think a new feature that they have put is, you can actually enable your location in that, application. As soon as it came, I immediately went and I turned it off. But I still see a lot of people have their location enabled, which of course, goes towards leaking some information, or, breaches the privacy, through that location feature. So anything that you would like to add here for,
Only one word, Sejal. And whenever you get such thing, whenever you find such people, you would use only one word: privacy hygiene.
Mhm.
Practice privacy hygiene. Then they would ask you what is privacy, and they would say, you would say, it's, you are moving to these locations, it's getting identified, and it should not be known. Then you can tell them that they are okay, no problem. So okay, you don't want privacy hygiene. Some people want privacy hygiene. So I'll give you one small example which happened in my personal life itself. My sister is in Australia. Her
Hmm.
son had to do the thread ceremony. Okay, and for that he had to remove his hair. He had to be bald. He is 12
Hmm.
years old. Okay, he like, by from his birth he's in Melbourne only, but the process was being done here in UP. Okay, so this boy was crying a lot and he was telling everyone, I don't want to remove my hair. Okay, but since it is a ritual, everybody said it has to be removed. So they removed it, and one of my cousin brother is a lawyer. Okay, and he came to know that he's a lawyer. This boy, he went to that lawyer and he said, Bhaiya, I know you are a lawyer. Yes, I'm a lawyer. I want to file case against all these people. Said, why? Because they have not taken my consent before removing my hair. So then I asked my sister that how he knows about consent, because here in India we don't talk about our consent, our privacy. She said
Hmm.
it's very common, it is discussed. Everybody cares about their privacy. If everybody don't want to reveal that why I'm doing what I'm doing, and without my consent, nobody should impact or attack my personal things. You don't have that right to impact my personal things, right? So it's very common. So with to bring up that culture, our country has also come up with the law, right? But we need to start practicing this privacy hygiene, right? That we don't have that thought process only. That yes, if my privacy is getting revealed, if somebody is impacting on my privacy, I have right to go and file case. I have right to go and tell the police that I didn't wanted my privacy to be revealed. Now, what is my privacy again? The PII, the data information identifiable. Okay, I didn't wanted it to be revealed. So if
Hmm.
the company, if through the company the data is getting breached, I have all the rights to say that my privacy was revealed. I didn't wanted that. Okay, so there should be a case on this company or this person, right? So yeah, I thought I'll give this example before
Fun
wrapping.
example,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I think Dheeraj has put some follow-up comments. If you can read that, Shweta ma'am, about doctors carrying their patients' data is also common practice as they
Mhm.
contact them when joining other, hospital, and hospital
Yes, yes,
cannot
yes,
verify.
very true. That is true. That's a practice, and but one thing I want to mention, that doctors in their first year itself are taught about consent. For us, it has come in now when we are talking about DPDP, but for doctors, it's there since generation, and they know how to protect the PII information of the patient. So it's doctor and the patient. Hospital is one of the media where these two people come in. So we cannot have a control over doctors not carrying the patient information. It's a totally different thing than a salesperson carrying the data. Here it's a doctor and the person, patient, the relation is totally different. The salesperson and the customer, the relation is completely different.
Correct, correct. Fair enough. So I think we have covered a lot of points. We have brainstormed. We have given some good examples, Shweta shared, which will help it understand even better, because then we relate to our personal situation. We put that in our mind and then we actually go about it. So thank you, Shweta ma'am, to add that in your discussion, because the technical jargons, the technicals, of course, that is something that we all do on paper, on policies, but this helped, me and of course everybody here a lot. Thank you so much once again. Hope you had a good time discussing this topic, and we expect and we look forward to having you here more and more, now that privacy is going to be an everyday thing more than it was happening before. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Sejal. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me and adding your inputs on the chat. Thank you.
Great. So, thank you to all the participants as well for putting your views in the chat. As usual, Cyberfrat will provide you with one CP for attending this session. I request Tamanna from my team to put the link in the chat. Once you fill up your email ID in that, you will get your certificate of attendance right into your email inbox. So you can claim your CPs, through that certificate. And by saying that, I think that was it. The recording of this session, if anybody joined a little late or want to go through this, once again, this will be uploaded on YouTube, Cyberfrat's, YouTube channel, maybe by next week, once we have the final, version ready. So you can keep an eye, you can subscribe to that channel, because all the episodes of this particular series, which I think missed to mention in the beginning, this fireside chat series which we have started every month, one episode comes out where I am the host, and all the guests or all the speakers that are a part of this fireside chat are our Cyberfrat Gold members. So this is a special series which we have started for Gold, where they can come in, they can share about their journey, their experience, their knowledge on the topics that they want to talk about, and of course are crucial for the community. So this is the series. We do a lot of such community, such knowledge sharing, networking activities as a part of Cyberfrat Gold. So anybody who has not explored it yet, I would urge you all to, maybe Tamanna, you can put the offer message in the chat to help others to quickly go and see. We have an amazing offer going on right now, which is for, you can get the Gold membership. Of course, there are a lot of other benefits, the complete cybersecurity courses portal, 300 courses. We have actually built DPDPA full 24 hours training on our portal, which will take you from the foundations till the advanced, the whole complete policy, legal, a lot of points are covered in that, from the industry lawyers, practitioners themselves. So all of this is included in Gold membership, along with such talk sessions, such fireside sessions. So I would urge everybody to check out Gold. The offer currently is 10,000 for 3 years, which is, I think, the greatest deal that we have put out as a part of our year-end campaign. So you can go to cyberfrat.com/gold to explore all of that, and you can get in touch with us if you want to know more. And with that, we'll see you once again with a new session, a new fireside session in the month of December. We will come up with again a very experienced new speaker, new guest, new topic, new thoughts, and of course CPs for all of you. So once again, thank you so much for giving this one to us, listening throughout, and have a great weekend, all of you. And thank you so much.